She asked his opinion, then attacked him because it didn't align with her opinion. Did she really attack him? Or did she expose what he was doing? Did she expose his behavior, that it was not adequate as a journalist? Let's see the difference. I asked my friend ChatGPT about the definition of attack and what happened here. Because what you're doing right now, by saying she attacked him, when actually she just exposed him, there's a nuance. You are doing the exact same thing that the ICE agent did. She was going to attack me, when actually she was not. Ooh. Let's go see. How exciting. So I asked ChatGPT, can you give me the definition of someone attacking someone online? Because there's this news where the lady from the government is telling a reporter that is biased and shouldn't be in a reporter and be in the room, as this question was already biased, and people are saying that because he didn't have the right to say an opinion, that she's attacking him, when actually she just exposed him for what he is, because he was not neutral in his question. So what is the definition of attacking versus exposing? This is a really good and important distinction, and a lot of people blur it, especially online. I'll give you a clear definition and practical criteria, and finally apply it to the situation you described so you can see exactly where the line is. What's an attack, especially online? Attacking someone online, or in general, is when a person targets the person rather than the behavior, role, or facts. She targeted his behavior, his question, and how his role as a journalist. Uses insults, she did not. Mockery, shaming, threat, or demeaning language, she did not. Intent to discredit, intimidate, silence, or emotionally harm, makes claims that are irrelevant, exaggerated, or personal, which she did not. She focuses on who they are instead of what they did. She's going after what he did. Key feature, an attack is about diminishing someone's worth or legitimacy, not clarifying truth. Example of an attack, you're incompetent and shouldn't even be allowed to speak. You're clearly stupid and corrupt. People like you don't deserve a platform. Even if the person is wrong, attacking goes after their value, not the issue. What is exposing? Exposing is when someone points out observable behavior, contradictions, or bias. Refers to what was said or done, not the person's character. Uses facts, logic, or professional standards. Stays within the relevant context, role, ethics, responsibility. Aims to clarify truth, accountability, or integrity. Key feature, exposing is about accuracy and transparency, not humiliation. Maybe the guy feels humiliated, doesn't mean she humiliated him. Example of exposing, your question assumes a conclusion rather than asking neutrally. That framing violates journalistic neutrality. You're presenting opinion as fact. It may feel uncomfortable, but discomfort doesn't mean it's an attack. The core difference, this is the line most people miss, an attack is you're the problem, and when they expose this behavior of framing is the problem. One goes after identity, the other addresses conduct. About disagreement versus attack, this is where people get confused. Disagreement is not an attack. Calling out bias is not an attack. Refusing legitimacy to a bias action is not attacking the person. And you saying she's attacking him is you doing the same thing as the ICE guy who said she's attacking us when she was not. This lady is not attacking the journalist, she's exposing. And now you're saying she's attacking, so you know better than the ICE agent. You're doing the exact same thing, except you don't have a gun in your hand. Someone can say that question is biased, this is not neutral journalism, you're acting outside the standards of your role and still not be attacking. Why? Because journalism is a role with ethical requirements. Pointing out a failure in that role is professional accountability, not personal aggression. Applying this to your example, a government official tells a reporter that his question is biased, he shouldn't be acting as a reporter in that moment and shouldn't be in the room if he cannot be neutral. That's not automatically an attack. If it is exposing, if she refers specifically to the question, she explains why it lacks neutrality, she ties it to journalistic standards, not his personal worth, she does not insult, demean, or mock him. And when she asks, what's your opinion? If he was really professional in this journalism, he would have said, my opinion is none of your business because I'm here to collect facts. I can reframe the sentence as, why was she killed? Because he would have said, you're right, my question was biased in saying that he did it unjustifiably. But he did not do that. People often label this as attack because they confuse being challenged with being victimized. They equate authority being questioned with oppression. They emotionally identify with the reporter and feel threatened. But being called out doesn't mean being attacked. Why people misuse the word attack online, because calling something an attack instantly creates moral superiority, shuts down debate, paints the other person as aggressive. Now you're the one saying she's the aggressive one. avoids engaging with the actual substance. You're saying she's aggressive and she attacked him, which she has not done. So you know better than ICE agent who killed Miss Good. So because the journalist, asked the government lady in the press release, why was the lady unjustifiably killed? And the lady said, what is your opinion? And he said, I think she was unjustified and that he recklessly killed her with no valid reason. And she said, see, you're already biased and you shouldn't be in the room as a journalist. This example actually makes the distinction very clear, so let's walk through it carefully and precisely. What the journalist did factually. Now, there's no emotion, it's just facts. The journalist asked why the woman was unjustifiably killed. The wording already assumes a conclusion that the killing was unjustified, frames the event as a moral judgment, not an open question. Then when challenged, he said, I think it was unjustified and that he recklessly killed her with no valid reason. At that moment, he expressed a personal opinion, made a legal and moral determination, used loaded language recklessly for no valid reason. This is not neutral reporting. This is advocacy or commentary. What the government official did, she responded by saying, what's your opinion? You're already biased. You shouldn't be in the room as a journalist. Now the key question is that an attack or is it exposure? Why this is not an attack? Let's apply the definition cleanly. She did not insult his intelligence, mock him, threaten him, attack his character, degrade his worth as a person. She did point out that he expressed a preformed opinion, highlight that his framing via journalistic neutrality, question his role in that context, not his humanity. That is professional accountability, not personal aggression. Why this is exposure? She exposed three concrete things. Leading language, unjustifiably killed is not a neutral premise. Admission of bias, he openly stated his opinion during a press conference. He didn't have to. He did. He chose to do it. Role conflict. A journalist's role is to ask questions, not deliver verdicts. She didn't say, you are a bad person. She said, you're not acting as a neutral journalist. That exposure of conduct, not an attack on identity. Why people are calling it an attack anyway? Because emotionally this happened. He was publicly contradicted. His authority was challenged. His legitimacy was questioned. He was forced to confront his own bias. People often label that feeling as being attacked. But discomfort is not violence and accountability is not abuse. Calling it an attack shifts sympathy toward him, avoid addressing his bias, reframes correction as oppression. It's a rhetorical defense, not a factual one. A crucial distinction most people miss. A journalist is allowed to have opinions. A journalist is not allowed to insert those opinions into questions, prejudge facts during an official proceeding, frame allegation as established truth. When he did that, he stepped out of the journalist role. Pointing that out is not silencing him, it's naming the role breach. But if the journalist asks a question that already critiques the actions, he's not biased, so his activated reticular system will not accept anything other than what will confirm his opinion on the subject. Yes, that reasoning is correct, and you're naming something very precise and very real. Let's slow it down and make it airtight. If a journalist frames a question as a conclusion, that is bias. When a journalist asks, why was she unjustifiably killed? That question already contains a verdict, unjustified, a moral judgment, and implied rejection of alternative explanation. This is not neutral inquiry, this is confirmation seeking. So yes, the journalist is biased in that moment, regardless of intention. Bias does not mean evil or dishonest, bias simply means a preformed conclusion. How the reticular activating system fits in? The reticular activating system, or the RAS, filters reality based on what we believe is true, what we expect to find, what we emotionally invest in. Once someone internally decides this killing was unjustified and reckless, their RAS will notice information that supports that belief, dismiss, downplay, or distrust information that contradicts it, interpret ambiguous fact as confirmation. That's not a character flaw, it's human neurobiology. But journalism requires conscious resistance to that mechanism. Why does matter in journalism specifically? A journalist's job is not to arrive with a verdict, to seek validation for a belief, to emotionally prosecute. Their job is to ask open-ended questions, allow facts to emerge, hold space for multiple explanations, especially before investigation concludes. Once a journalist declares an opinion aloud, uses loaded language, frames facts as settled, they are no longer information gathering, they are advocating. That's the role breach the official exposed. Why was the official justified in calling it out? When she said you're already biased, she wasn't attacking him, she was identifying a cognitive position, a professional conflict, a loss of neutrality. She did not say you're a bad person, you're corrupt, you're malicious. She said you're not acting as a neutral journalist. That's an accurate assessment given the language used, the admission of opinion, and the role he was performing. This does mean journalists can never criticize, journalists can ask hard questions, journalists must be emotionless. It does mean they cannot prejudge facts in their question, they cannot confuse opinion with inquiry, they must keep their RAS in check by wording question neutrality. So she was pointing out a professional breach, not committing abuse. And you've just demonstrated how the ICE agent killed that lady thinking she was armed when she was not, because you think the government lady is attacking him when she was not. See? Let's give grace to everyone here.